I want to talk to you about pay for delayed letters and what they are. How can you actually write one, and how do you go about the whole credit repair process in relationship with a pay for delayed letter? Let's quickly talk about that. So basically, I want to first define for you what a pay for delayed letter really is. So if you are looking to remove, let's say, collections accounts from your credit reports, you will need to actually make a request. And this actually don't tend to go away when paid in full or settled. Okay, you got to take action. You got to really go through a certain procedure to actually have them removed. So that's when pay for delayed letters actually come into play. So to do that, to actually take care of like making sure the collections accounts are removed from your credit reports, you need to send a pay for delayed letter. The idea here is that you agree to settle the debt or pay it off in full in exchange for the creditor deleting the collection item from your credit reports. Okay, so that's really one of those things where if you want things to be done proactively, because you also have the ability to let things actually settled, quote unquote, settle, let's say naturally. Okay, most collections accounts remain on your credit reports for 7 years, even when paid off. So the timeline may be different in certain states because every state has its own set of regulations. Now, medical debts gets removed after a year, or let's say a year after delinquency, and is immediately taken off when paid in full. For other types of debt, you'll need to negotiate with the debt collection agency to have the collections item removed. Okay, so that's really important. Now, how does the whole process work? The thing is that you want to start by contacting a collection agency either by phone or by writing them a letter. During your call, what you want to do is you want to be as open as possible. It's all about negotiating a couple of things. Okay, you can discuss. You can actually discuss with the collection agency about a pay for delete letter, and you can request that they ask the credit bureaus to remove actually the negative item from the credit report. And if you're lucky, they might do it. Okay. As a result, you'll need to either pay the debt off in full or reach a settlement with the agency. Okay, and so it's important to really understand that you have pay for delete, but you also have a paid in full. So a key point is that let's say even if they have been paid in full, collections accounts still remain on your credit report for 7 years, as I said earlier. Okay, outside of course of outside medical debt. So something going to collections can act as a signal to future creditors that you've had trouble making your payments in the past. So let's quickly talk about the pros and cons of pay for delayed here. So I want to walk you through the whole process and see whether or not this is a procedure for you this year. Let me first talk to you about the advantages of pay for delay. So when you have a pay for delayed letter, what happens here is that you are able to actually, let's say, have a great, you can start the first process when it comes to repair credit, okay? And it doesn't matter what kind of score and model you go after. If you have a pay for delayed letter, you can really you can initiate the credit repair process. And the creditor may settle for something less than the full amount owed. So basically, if you owe $10,000, for instance, and you go through if you go through a successful pay for delayed negotiation, you might end up paying like 8,000 or 7,000 out of the 10,000, if of course the lender is okay with that. Okay, and when you think about a pay for delayed letter, it's actually really going back to your initial settings in terms of it's just like the trouble never happened in the first place. That's kind of cool because it really sets your credit score, quote unquote, to factory conditions, if you will. So those are three advantages when it comes to pay for delete letters. Okay, what are the disadvantages here? Let's talk about that. Now, the thing is, the creditor or collection agency may not agree to the delete letter. Like you might try to negotiate something, and they might say, "Listen, we don't agree." This can happen. Now, the amount you have to pay may depend on how the debt is held, who has it been transferred to, And so, depending on the number of the accounts and timing, it could be more expensive than waiting it out. Like, maybe it's just better to wait the 7 years and everything will fall off your credit reports naturally as opposed to going through the pay for delay letter. I mean, see, when you have a pay for delay letter, you are actually taking care of your own quote unquote destiny. You are trying to be proactive as opposed to being reactive. So let me talk to you about how to write a pay for delayed letter this year. If you are thinking about actually, let's say, repairing your credit, if you are trying to bring things down to a normal, quote unquote, normal, and you want to write a pay for delayed letter, let me give you a few, let me give you some guidance. So you want to ensure that the letter is actually written professionally and contains clear and precise details. It's all about being as granular as possible. It's all about being proactive, but also being methodical as possible. So, generally, your letter should contain the following: your name and address, the date, the name and address of the creditor or collection agency, your account number, the preferred payment method upon agreement, the written and signed confirmation, the due date for the creditor to reply, and your signature. Okay. Now, let me share with you on the screen. I'm going to put this on the screen here. A pay for delayed letter templates. Okay. Now, if you want if you want to have this template, let's say in Word, in Microsoft Word, or even PDF, let us know in the comment section, and we'll certainly actually email you this letter template. So, but I'm putting this on the screen here. I will first put a few items. So you want to put your name, your address, the city, state, and zip. You also want to put here the creditor collection agency address, the name of the creditor first, the name of the creditor and collection creditor or collection agency, the creditor collection agency address, the creditor collection agency city, state, and zip, and the date. Okay. And then you want to put here your account number. So what kind of account number are we speaking about? And then you start the letter, dear creditor, collection agency. You put the name there, and so you go through the process that I'm just putting on the screen here. I'm writing you regarding your recent letter about account number, blah blah blah. I'm writing to settle my debt with you in the amount listed below, provided you accept the following terms. And you just put the terms, and I'm just gonna put the rest of the letter on the screen. I'm not going through everything, but if you need more explanation on this matter, let us know and we'll certainly help. Let me give you a few tips for writing a pay for delayed letter this year. It's important to understand that you want to make sure that the debt is real. You want to start with something that's real. Why? Because unfortunately, there are a lot of debt collector scams out there. So if the quote unquote collection agency that you are talking to is actually referencing debt that you don't recognize, or know it's either current or long since retired, your antenna should really go up. Okay. Politely tell them to send you a letter, and any legit collection attempt requires you to be given response time. Ensure that you are, like, even if you are unsure, this buys you time to contact the original creditor, right? You want to ascertain things. So contact the original creditor directly and verify the status of your account. If somebody's telling you you owe a Chase or you owe a Bank of America, you want to contact the institution yourself and make sure that you have clarity as to the debt in the first place. Okay. So make sure you are sending it to the correct debt collector. Also, you can confirm your debt by actually sending a debt validation letter. And only send the pay for delayed letter if you can pay the full amount as soon as they agree to your offer. And also, you want to mail the letter and follow up payments using certified mail, right? It's one of those things where if something were to happen, you want to make sure that you are covered. Okay. So through this, you'll have evidence that the letter and your payment were sent and received, right? And one thing I want to also insist on is that you want to remember to save a copy of the letter for yourself. You just never know. Okay, you want to cover your back. You just never know. And moreover, you want to keep track of things in case you want to use the same approach with another collector later on. It's one of those things where, at least if you have a template in place, if you have a certain method in place, if you were to really replicate the process in the future, it will be a lot easier for you to remember the right reflex and to actually have the right document to contact the collection agency or the or another debtor. So now, one thing for sure, when you actually are mailing a pay for delayed letter, there is a possibility that the letter will be accepted or rejected, right? It's one of those things where, or sometimes you can even wait and the letter may never be replied to. In other words, the creditor or the collection agency is not really even bothering to reply to you. So it's important to know that your creditor doesn't have to take the deal offered in your pay for delayed letter. And so, if the company doesn't, you got to really think about your next move. Okay, what kind of strategy should you have in place? Now, there are a couple of options that you actually can go through. You can actually pay off the debt in full, or settle it anyway. So, depending on the credit scoring model in use by the credit bureaus at the time, collections that are paid off or settled may actually help boost your credit score. And you can also wait for the collection to actually fall off your report. Remember, I told you about 7 years, so that's really the protocol. That's the procedure. Okay, 7 years. So this is admittedly not quick, but you wouldn't have to do anything, and you don't have to set aside money you may or may not have. Okay, now, so that's important. So if your pay for delete letter is rejected, you have to understand that. You have to take actions in terms of getting things done fast. I mean, having no balance at all is better than having an outstanding balance. That's for sure. So, in simple terms, indeed, is a good idea. Is a good idea if you have the resources to pay the full amount and do it as soon as possible. And so, one thing I want to say also is that you have to really understand that you can actually make an offer to settle and have it agreed upon by the creditor or collector. That's what I said a little earlier, that you can say, you know what, I'm paying 80 cents on the dollar. On this debt, I'm paying 70 cents on the dollar, or I'm paying 90 cents on the dollar. I mean, I just want to get it over with once and for all. So, and again, make sure you have the funds. Because once they accept to your agreement, I mean, they accept to your proposal, if they agree to your proposal, you better really have the cash real fast to settle the debt as soon as possible. So now, when you think about having a pay for delayed letter, you have to really understand that you also have some alternatives. Okay, I mean, pay for delete is not the only strategy you should really pursue this year if you're trying to really beef your credit score, or you're trying to improve your credit standing overall. So what you can do here is that you can request a debt validation letter from the collection agency. I mean, if you're trying to really go that route, this is really good, because the good thing is that if the collection agency is unable to provide this letter, you won't have to pay anything, because a debt validation letter is actually something that the FCRA, the Fair Credit Reporting Act, has really instituted to make sure that consumers are protected from debt scams. Okay, so you want to really request a debt validation letter from the collection agency. And you also want to dispute the errors to all three credit bureaus. So, you want to contact Equifax, you want to contact TransUnion, you want to contact Experian, and really go through the process to dispute the errors. You can do this online or by sending a certified letter. You can also call the credit bureau to initiate the process. And also, you can consider paying the bill instead of writing a pay for delay letter. It can make things simpler, especially if this is your only collection account. It's what I mean. People go through problems, right? But if you are really, if you have the resources to pay off whatever you owe, it's just better to pay it off. So, is writing a pay for delayed letter actually worth it? It really depends. It depends on a couple of things, okay? So whether writing a pay for delete letter is worth it depends on your specific situation and goals. So removing the negative items can significantly improve your credit situation. And if you are able to negotiate a favorable agreement, it's actually worth pursuing. So it's one of those things where you have to see how your situation actually fares, okay? And however, weigh the potential benefits compared to the effort and any associated cost involved in the negotiation process. Contrarily, if you are unsure, you may seek assistance from a credit counseling agency or even a financial advisor. So let me give you a few frequently asked questions here. When you think about pay for delete letter, you have to really understand that there is actually a statute of limitations on debt. Okay, many states have laws that limit the ability of debt collectors to actually collect beyond a given time frame, and this is usually 3 to 6 years. Okay, but sometimes longer. So 3 to 6 years, that's actually the legal time frame they have to abide by. So the time frame may also vary based on the type of debt you have. So the state law might be listed in your agreement. And so the worst thing you can actually face off if you're sending a pay for delay letter, the worst you can actually have is that you receive a disagreement from the collection agency. Okay, they might say no. So one caution with this approach is that if you have multiple collections, the payoffs could be expensive to actually budget for. But one thing for sure, if you have the resources, it's better to go that way. Why? Because basically, if like a pay for delete letter can really increase your credit score because basically the collections account will disappear from your credit report, and this will boost your score in short order. And also, now, a pay for delete letter is not going to do miracles here. It's not going to erase bad credit overnight. There is no such thing as an overnight quick fix. So, assuming your creditor delays the collection, credit bureaus will still only report your score to one of various services every 30 days. Okay. So, it can take some time before you see the results. So, it's one of those things where patience and the right approach will really help you out. So, bottom line is a pay for delete letter involves negotiating with a creditor or collection agency on the terms that you will give them payments for your debt in exchange for the deletion of the collection. You may be able to repair your credit faster or settle for something less than what you owe. On the other hand, creditors don't have to accept the deal. Make sure the debt is validated in writing. So the takeaway here in today's conversation, I spoke to you about pay for delete letters, and I explained what the letter really is. I defined it for you, and I explained to you how to write one. I gave you a template, and also the alternatives you should be considering if you're thinking about pay for delete letters. Thank you so much. God bless you. I'll see you next time. Until then, remember, stay marvelous.